Movit, all-day confidence.
Hello, good evening. Welcome now to WBS Prime News Live. I am Anita Mwanguzi. Here's what's coming up.
Some of the materials that they were using in getting to teach these young children, you find that they conflict a lot with the doctrines.
Police reports rescuing 24 children from suspected terrorist activity.
The judiciary is going to be independent. I think we have been independent and we will continue to be independent.
Chief Justice Bat Katurebe, Deputy Stephen Kavoma approved by Parliament.
This year the law courts took upon themselves to set targets of cases to be disposed.
Judiciary rolls out alternative dispute resolution.
Says the agreement stands terminated. Position that we don't agree with, I need to consult with my client and we see if we can take the necessary steps.
And in sports, USL loses suit against FUFA, Azam to telecast Super League matches. Many thanks for your great company. Police reveals they have rescued 24 children from confinement homes in Mpoma, Mukono district and Namawojolo along Ginger Road. The authorities suspect the children could have been undergoing training to be recruited into terror-related activities. This was revealed to journalists at a brief to journalists at Chida Divisional Police Headquarters.
Police spokesperson Fred Enanga explained that after being tipped off by intelligence, they set off and found 9 of the children in Mpoma under custody of Hajat Mariam Uthman and others in Namawojolo with Haj Abdul Rashid Mbazira. The children are aged between 2 and 9 years.
We followed up the information and we recovered 9 young children who were living under very squalid conditions, very poor accommodation, poor sanitation and even poor feeding.
Police reports that all the children got from Namawojolo claim that Haj Abdul Rashid Mbazira was their father, what police find suspicious. According to Enanga, they were able to gather evidence in form of videos that the children were being indoctrinated and radicalized as one of the ways to prepare them for terrorism.
Some of the materials that they were using in getting to teach these young children, you find that they conflict a lot with the doctrines, the principles and values of Islam.
According to Enanga, intelligence had found out that when the children clock the age of 12, most of the children are always transferred to unknown destinations, which could be terror cells or military training facilities. Enanga says 4 suspects, including Bazira, Hajat Uthman, and others had been apprehended and taken to Nalufenya, from where they would be arraigned before court, together with other terror suspects.
Muslim MPs are seeking audience with the Internal Affairs Minister General Ronda Nyakairima and the police chiefs in the country to explain the recent wave of arrests of Muslims that they say are causing panic among Muslims in the country. Speaking shortly after a meeting at Parliament, the MPs expressed concern about what they call detention of suspects beyond the stipulated time and the closure of schools associated with Muslims.
These continuous arrests of Muslims and, making matters worse, others have been arrested, detained for more than the constitutional requirement. They are not brought to court, and it has created fear among the Muslim community that whenever someone is a Muslim or is someone who is a Muslim, what he or she feels that the moment he looks at police or security operatives, it's like you are suspected to be someone who is about to commit a crime. We have had these arrests, and indeed we have seen schools of 500 students or pupils closed under the guise that there is someone, one person who was who had some security threats.
A section of members of Parliament who attempted to block Justice Stephen Kavuma's appearance before the Appointments Committee of Parliament were left in the cold after they failed to secure an injunction from court and had their protest letter to the Speaker ignored. Western Region Youth MP Gerald Karuhanga, who was leading this team, accuses Kavuma of threatening staff at the Constitutional Court with sacking if they accepted their petition, a statement Kavuma dismisses as loose talk.
With nominees to different positions showing up at Parliament, the lenses paid specific attention to Justice Stephen Kavuma, whose appointment to the position of the Deputy Chief Justice attracted strong resistance from state quarters. Attempts by Western Region Youth MP Gerald Karuhanga to secure an injunction blocking his appearance hit a dead end after his lawyers failed to file their case before the Constitutional Court.
On the directives of Justice Kavuma, the registrars of court, the clerks of court, the sweepers, the cleaners of loos have all been physically running off from us.
The group also unsuccessfully attempted to ask the Speaker to ignore his nomination. After his interface, the calm-looking Kavuma took time to respond to questions from journalists, dismissing his critics as lacking information.
I tell you, I haven't been to that court since even yesterday I was not there. I worked from my small office at the High Court. This morning, that is where I went to wait for my interview here. So there is no way I could have frustrated anybody. In any case, that court I heard is a constitutional court, and everybody is free if they are within their rights.
He also responded to claims that he was fluked by the president without undergoing through the due process of nomination to this office.
If one can abuse office to the extent of even filing a case where he's involved, then how can he be qualified to be a Deputy Chief Justice?
I saw an advert in the press that there was a position for a Deputy Chief Justice of this country. I applied for that position. I was called by the Commission for an interview. I went, I was interviewed, and I left. On two occasions, the chairman was not comfortable. I think it is part of their policy. They don't tell you after appearing whether you have passed or not.
Unlike Kavuma's situation, his boss Bart Katurebe had a smooth ride through the process, with members of the committee raising no objections to this appointment, described as the popular choice.
The judiciary is going to be independent. I think we have been independent and will continue to be independent. You are aware of how many decisions the judiciary of Uganda has made against government, and sometimes being condemned for it, but we go ahead and do our work. So we shall go ahead and do our work independently, as long as you are satisfied with the decision they've done.
He comes to the judiciary at a time when the institution is entangled in a heavy case backlog and financial constraints. Sabit Joseph, Davis Television, Parliament.
In other news, Uganda's judiciary is drafting a mechanism to curb down the case backlog in the courts of judicature, which have been a major cause of delayed justice. The Justice Law and Order sector has launched a rollout of alternative dispute resolution mechanism from the Commercial Court Division of the High Court to other courts and dispute resolution bodies with the JLOS sector, as Aaron's Mark Tabaruka reports.
Or intimidate the public or section of the public.
The judiciary believes the alternative dispute resolution, a mediation process that follows parties in a dispute to find a quick solution with assistance of a neutral party without going through the costly and lengthy court process, cuts down case backlog. For the last decade, the judiciary has struggled to address the backlog challenge in vain, and now the jury has developed a new response.
This year, the law courts took upon themselves to set targets of cases to be disposed. This ambitious step can only succeed with several of these cases stopping short of adversarial confrontation. It is these reforms that will transfer the administration of justice in Uganda into one of the best in Africa.
Alternative dispute resolution cuts short litigation process, a response the Principal Judge Yoroka Mbamwine agrees would be the answer to the case backlog, right to the due court process in the delivery of justice and gender equality. Head of the Office of the Australian Development Corporation, Dr. Simon Mona Angabok, supports the rollout of the program and believes embracing the ADR reforms will strengthen the judiciary.
The cases are too many. Now, allowing these disputes is a limited resource envelope that restricts our ability to resolve them in the shortest time possible.
We also hope that it will make the lives of you as JLOS professionals easier. Alternative Dispute Resolution, ADR, is a long and complicated name.
The judiciary remains desperate to cope with the 38,000 case backlog to deliver justice and reduce the financial and emotional burden in the society. Alternative dispute resolution is any means of settling disputes outside the courtroom, and it typically includes early neutral evaluation, negotiation, conciliation, mediation, and arbitration. Alan's Tabaruka, WBS Television.
This is WBS Prime News Live, our top stories. Police reports rescuing 24 children from suspected terrorist activity. Chief Justice Batka Turebe, Deputy Stephen Kavoma approved by Parliament. And the judiciary rolls out alternative dispute resolution.
Knowing it's easy, you get it all back with Chizzy. All the airtime you spend, at the end of the month, Chicho Chizzy. 1K, 2K, 5K, 10K, 20K, 30K. Airtime you spend is refunded. Talk and talk with Chizzy. Chicho. Uganda Telecom's got something.
Get back your airtime with Chizzy from Uganda Telecom. Dial *100#, select Chizzy and get the total amount you spend in a month refunded. This refund can be used for calls and SMSs to all networks for the next 30 days from Uganda's most affordable telecom service, Uganda Telecom. It's all about you.
Introducing Yuga Chick Super. Chicken pieces that are individually quick frozen and easier to prepare. Yuga Chick Super has been packaged conveniently for your family. Buy Yuga Chick Super from a supermarket near you.
Welcome back to WBS Prime News Live. Rehabilitation work on Chanzuchi Bridge in Bulembia Division, Kasese Town, have kicked off and are expected to be complete by the end of June this year. Chanzuchi Bridge, which connects Katiri area to Chanzuchi, is among the many bridges that were severely destroyed by the May floods in 2013 and 2014.
The bridge is currently being rehabilitated by Terrain Services Limited at a tune of 4.3 billion shillings from central government under the supervision of Uganda National Roads Authority, UNRA. Since the damage on this bridge, access to Chirembe Secondary School and the neighboring communities in Chanzuki has been difficult. The district chairperson, Lieutenant Colonel Mawa Mohindo, visited the site to check on the progress of the construction. He commended the work so far done by Terrain Services by fixing the bridge, adding that after completion, emphasis will be put on other damaged bridges in the areas of Chamhumba, Chondo, and Maliba sub-counties.
And works are going on very, very well. On behalf of government, I want to thank Ministry of Works, UNRA, and specifically Terrain Services for a job well done. And I think very soon we should also be embarking on bridges of Chanya and then the bridge in Kiarumba, Kyondo. Our people need to be a little bit appreciative because works are going on very, very well.
Whereas the construction works are going on, the silting of River Nyamwamba is also being done. The floods in Chirembe left 8 people dead and property worth millions of shillings destroyed, including staff quarters of Chirembe Mines Hospital. The people in Kasese are worried about what will happen in May since the river has always burst its banks during the rainy season.
Makerere University College of Veterinary Medicine and Animal Biodiversity, COVAB, launches a project aimed at creating awareness of the antimicrobial resistance burden in food-producing animals and humans in the country. This is because most developing countries have relied on antibiotic drugs for treatment, but do not know that the microbes or bacteria have become more resistant since they still survive in any way and become more dangerous to human and animal health.
During the launch of the Advisory Group on Integrated Surveillance of the Antimicrobial Resistance (AGSAR) project, several presentations were made explaining the importance and dangers of the antimicrobial resistance to both human and animal health. The World Health Organization says developing countries are much dotted with the problem of antimicrobial resistance than the developed.
We want to see eventually proper use of these drugs in the country. We want to produce evidence which will be used to institute measures for proper use of these drugs in the country.
Now we are starting to use antimicrobials that were not used before in human health. For example, colistin was not used in human health, was used only in animal health because it generated a lot of side effects. But now with extended beta-lactamase that are identified in some pathogens, we are using it again.
It's good to have a veterinarian under advisement and be under the advice of a veterinarian, a large animal veterinarian who is well versed in food animal production.
The Executive Director, National Council of Higher Education, Professor Dr. John Opuda Asibos, gave a keynote address on the antimicrobial resistance, an emerging threat to human and animal health care in the 21st century. He explains that microbes cannot be easily wiped out completely.
Microbes are exactly like that. You try to destroy them, a few of them will remain, and when they remain, they'll come after you. And that's essentially.
Scientists say good microbes should be allowed to survive, and once the pilot project is done, it will become a national surveillance program for the country. But Professor Buddha Sibo is concerned about the spread of the microviruses in hospitals and clinics.
The control of infections should begin with the practitioners. And that's why, to me, all hospitals should have infection control units.
The World Health Organization says more common bacteria have become resistant to everything, which calls for the creation and use of antimicrobial resistant drugs that has not been used before in human health and farmers must apply proper measures to avoid the problem. Stephen Mwiri, WBS News.
Neither government nor civil society organizations can account for grants and loans channeled to them by development partners, causing fear for more support. According to Independent Development Fund, IDF, this is derailing grassroots development in Uganda because of the absence of credible accountability mechanisms in the country. In recent past, Uganda has had donors like the Global Fund withdraw aid due to poor accountability and mismanagement of funds, and even the Ministry of Finance admits they cannot keep track of all the grants and loans received by both government and non-governmental organizations. According to Independent Development Fund, IDF, this is fueling poor accountability, and as a result, funds rarely reach their intended destinations. This derails donors' efforts when they don't see value for their money.
How different organizations really undertake this function to be able to be more effective, but to be able to be accountable for the funds that they've got.
Unfortunately, the health, human rights and economic empowerment efforts, which seem to always receive the biggest support, suffer the most in accountability. According to the Independent Development Fund, unless credible systems of tracking any money that flows in and out of the country are established, developing Uganda's rural communities remains a myth.
Who donate these funds lose trust in the mechanism that is issuing out these funds and monitoring these funds. Then they will not give the next time they are called upon. So your M&E system has to be so effective.
Yes, the question of resource mobilization, and I think across Africa, has been a challenge, because many of our development work heavily relies on foreign donors. But all we are saying is that Africa is endowed with their own local resources that we can pin to be able to support the work that the civil society organization is doing.
As a precondition to giving financial aid, most donors are interested in getting value for their money, and without credible accountability, Uganda continues to lose out on opportunities for funding because donors are intimidated by corruption. This is WBS Prime News Live. We'll now have a reminder of our top stories. Police reports rescuing 24 children from suspected terrorist activity. Chief Justice Bat Katurebe, Deputy Stephen Kavoma approved by Parliament. And the judiciary rolls out alternative dispute resolution.
There's a new workhorse in town. The new Dutch-Far Agrolax tractor from Dutch-Far, Germany is now available at Spear Motors Limited. This tractor, with user-friendliness as standard, comes in 2x4 and 4x4 wheel drive with a 3-cylinder diesel engine characterized by outstanding performance and low fuel consumption. It's the ultimate workhorse that offers value for money. So pay us a visit today. Spear Motors Limited, Plot M428 Nakao Ginger Road.
When I get praise from my parents, I learn to appreciate to work hard in life. When I get encouraged by my teachers, I learn to be confident at school. When I get acceptance and friendship from my community, I learn to love where I live.
When children get approval from their teachers, they learn to like themselves. Help them to have pride in their own accomplishments.
You see, a good school equals to a better life. Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising Voices.
Welcome back to WBS Prime Sport. Uganda Super League Limited loses a case against the local football federation FUFA that they earlier filed before the High Court seeking for an interim order against the latter for the termination of their contract. USL lost the court battle after Justice Yasin Nyanzi ruled in favor of FUFA with cost implications attached.
After a series of close-out hearings, High Court finally disposes of the case that was petitioned against FUFA by USL, with costs to be incurred by the latter. The ruling comes as a relief to the local football clubs and FUFA, who had earlier signed a contract with pay television Azam TV and were being buried by the court battles between FUFA and USL, who were earlier the Super League runners.
Says the agreement stands terminated. Position that we don't agree with, I need to consult with my client and we see if we can take the necessary steps because there's an appellate process that we can exercise.
To USL lawyers, they are out for further hearing as they are planning an appeal against Justice Nyanzi's ruling. For the defendant lawyers, it's a clear step towards Uganda football running and an indicator for where Uganda's football is heading.
Today's decision actually is a landmark decision in our game. We, as you are aware, we already have a sponsor who's willing to go on and broadcast the games. The clubs have got the money, and it's a beginning of actually clearing this confusion between USA, FUFA Super League, and everybody.
FUFA lawyer Mohamed Bazilenge, the consentant, court battles are to continue until when USL is legally disbanded.
We have already actually indicated that once we finish with this application, we will go ahead and fix the main petition so that court can hear everybody, including the clubs, because in a petition, you can afford to hear even the creditors. So we assume that even SuperSport and other partners will be on board.
Regarding the costs awarded to FUFA by court, Bazilenge explained that USL has to meet the costs attached by the ruling.
What's actually painful now is that the same clubs now, because they're the owners of USL, they are what we call contributories. They're the contributories in Uganda Super League. So they're the ones actually who are still going to pay. And we are always, we have been telling everybody that, you know, there's this confusion, it has to be cleared. Now it's the clubs, because the clubs are the ones that are the shareholders.
This Friday, Azam Television will televise the league match between six-time league champions AC Villa and Express at Wankulukuku Stadium. Frank Serugo, WSTV, Kampala.
Hima Cement have sunk in 60 million in Uganda shillings into this year's Captain Prize Golf Tournament that has teed off today with professional playoffs. Well, that's the sports. Stay with us now for our news summary.
My name is Musa, your travel agent. I'm taking you around Africa, our motherland, a land gifted with beauty that flows right from Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Our first destination will be Rwanda, a land of hills and beautiful ladies. Then Tanzania, the home to the great Kilimanjaro mountain. And Kenya, the Masai Mara home. If I may ask, anyone with more exciting sights?
Movitable jelly and Movitable soap.
That shows her love for quality African-made products. In fact, I move with Movit Herbal Jelly too.
My friends and I at Campus all use Movit Herbal products. As in, I even carried mine.
To have a good service, I first bathe with Movit Herbal soap.
See, I gave the right answer. Even at home we use Movitable gel and Movitable soap. Me too.
Movit. All day confidence.
News Summary is brought to you by
Everybody use Movit's Herbal Jelly. Movit is amazing. Movit's Herbal Jelly. Movit is the best. Movit, all the confidence.
In a news summary, police reports rescuing 24 children from suspected terrorist activity. Chief Justice Bat Katurebe, Deputy Stephen Kavuma approved by Parliament. Judiciary rolls out alternative dispute resolution. Reconstruction works of Kasese bridges washed away by floods start. Poor accountability discouraging development partners, derail development efforts. And USL loses suit against FUFA Azam to telecast Super League matches.
News Summary is brought to you by
Everybody use Mobit Apple Cherry. Mobit is amazing. Mobit Apple Cherry. Mobit is the best. Mobit, all the confidence.
All that just about sums up WBS Prime News Live. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Anita Mwanguzi. Up next is Straight Talk Africa. Good night.